Yeah, it's yes. See, one thing that we are supposed to know is how the elements are communicated with respect to SDL. Fine. We are of how communication happens between the elements, like how the service port will be related to the binding, and then to port type, operation, how will we going to contain the input and output operation, and cases like fault operation, wherein we want to send some error messages. So operation can contain different types of messages, and at the time messages can contain different data types. So whenever we are going to write the Java class, you should get a picture in your mind related to the WSDL first. If you have designed your WSDL, or if you are going for a top-down approach, you have created your service. This method, this addition method, throws some action. Someone is sending data in terms of string. For that purpose, I have created one more service. I just created with n, which is 2 strings instead of integers. Receiving the data, I'm just cutting it to an integer, and for that I'm adding 2 numbers and returning the data also as a string. So I'm giving the flexibility to the user, or not only accessing only integers, here accept floating points, W's, and it also accept booleans and normal string values. As in, when he is expecting only the addition of 2 numbers or floating point numbers, he was not supposed to send the data of a character. Your perform operation, you can perform the addition operation only between numeric data types. You can perform the concatenation operation between 2 strings, but we are not bothered about that right now. You are coming integer.parseInt, and if you pass a string, then you're definitely going to fail with number format exception. So yes, you can specify, you can throw some kind of exception, or you can handle that exception and you respond back to the client. But the communication between client and server will be going to happen only based on SOAP protocol. So send a request, the request also, it will be going to wrap up your SOAP. That's what a response any phase. So then a response which contains an error information, like user send some string representation, our parseInt method has thrown an error format exception. So at of time, your SOAP will be going to constructed with a fault message, the fault part of the body. It contains your actual response information, but this time your body contains fault information, and the client was supposed to handle that particular error. He needs to get or to retrieve the error message and the error code. Exception has occurred. So an error has occurred. Instead of you sending the actual response inside the body, you'll just respond a fault. The fault contains a fault or fault string or detail. The fault is nothing but your error code which you and your client have decided. Based on that error code, client can understand like this is a client error, or this is our error, or the issue with respect to the header. So based on fault code, the client can easily understand the issue and he can fix it, and he's going to trigger the request one more time. It will be going to contain some extra information, like looking at the normal message instead of error code. If he can take a look at the error message also, he'll be able to understand in more detail. So we'll be going to see how to generate a fault message with respect to, and how to handle the fault response or fault response with the client. After that, we'll take a look at one real world example. We'll just example from some VA registries, Sigda, like Sigda. So we'll take a look at some temperature conversions, which will be going to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit. Let us go for this one fast, and we'll start with the fault data. One is, I just went to this website yesterday. I have suggested, right? website.sigda.com, a UDDA registry, and currently we want to do a small example for temperature from the scratch. Text box. The box I searched for temperature. It is listed with all the available services with respect to our temperature, and selected this one, temperature conversion, WSDL, which will remember your WSDL contains the endpoint information as well as how the required response communication should happen, and also the transport protocol. So just take the WSDL file, application, voice was not clear, just let me know. Join using normal audio conference. Just store it at some location. WSDL file. Save. Create a small project where you want to make use of the WSDL and create a client by Apache CXF. Dynamic client. So we just need to WSDL file. So currently just drag and drop with temperature.wsdl file. What is that? And matching XML is not allowed. Yeah, we can place it anywhere. We have the option, the CXF has the option of setting the client at any place. So yeah, now there is no, just click on the WSDL file. See what we are doing. We are not at all using our local ID fixed automatically. As what we have tried, we have created a additions or arithmetic service that provide a service. We have reduced, and after that we have written one client as well. In the sense, the service deployed onto our local host only, and also accessing from the same location, and we didn't go our UDDI because you didn't register your service at the UDDI layer. We don't want any of other clients to come and take a look at our arithmetic operations service. We want to make it, we want as a client, and we want to use the existing services. The convert temperature code again, and it was already available at the UDDL layer, and you verified the UDDL layer, and you just downloaded the WSDL file. WSDL file is enough to the client address. Apache CXF has capability of generating objects and required various classes WSDL file. So as we have seen the approach or from Java to WSDL conversion, they have used a tool called Java to WSDL. Today discuss in depth one by one. The Java to WSDL tool is used to connect your Java application to service. How will we going to generate a WSDL as well? Okay, the WSDL to Java. So also available with respect to your Apache CXF. So you provide the WSDL file, Apache CXF will be going to generate the Java classes and the XWS classes. The class is nothing but the service or the invitation class. And also it's going to generate a client or server code if you need. Verify your Apache CXF folder first. Verify what all the folder or files in Apache CXF. You use all the required Java files, and you get that JAX API, JAX AMPL, the related stuff, XML, which is used for converting your WSDL file into JP code. You need the XML beans. Any are mandatory, and here lot of bad files, nothing but file. WSDL to Java. WSDL to Java, which will be going to convert WSDL, the web service description language, into the objects. Java to WS. So the command are used by your Apache CXF, and if you get during object generation, use that particular command, and you're going to generate all the required class files. Current use of the external WSDL file. Right click on the WSDL file and go to only client. You can see that test with Web Service Explorer, which means first time we have verified one Web Service Explorer window. So that is same. And then is generate Java Bean skeleton. So the server code, and after that generate client. So currently it's only in generate client. So you have the option of selecting the project, whether you want to select at the same location or you want to place at different location. So currently to place at one more template client. Server runtime is same, and Webservices runtime is Apache CXF 2.x. You have the WSDL file already. If you can't, you need to find out, because anyway we right click on the file, so it will be going to populate automatically. Click on I suggested one package name, leave it as is, click on next, and here it will be going to show you all these preferences. See, these options, how it has retrieved these available with respect to your preferences, Apache CXF configuration. You can just go to that. You just need to verify, Sandeep. Click. Here see that it has used the command Java to WS and all required, like what class path that you're supposed to use, that it was supposed to the required class. The service JAX WS, data binding JAX B. So JAX WS binding means all your data types will be going to converted into JAX classes, and will be going to generate the conversion. So go file, use it now. So here it has created the package, and it has loaded all the class files. While putting the double it has done is it hasn't created a separate package for your JAXB. If you can just create a separate package and place all the JAX files. Just go and verify what elements that are available with respect to your WSDL. Open here. register. It consists of SOAP request, response, foreign Celsius, and in the wind SOAP request and wind foreign heat SOAP request and response. So it consists of 4 operations, and each operation consists of a request and response input message. As web address, port name, which was binded to temporary binding top. So each operation, go back to operation consists of a input message and output message. So these are integers and output messages. One per operation. Operation consists of and output. Finally, your data types. So types, it was referring like to foreign heat consists of the data value for Celsius, and that also consists of a decimal value, like whenever it has converted, whenever it converted from Celsius to foreign heat, it will be going to respond with a decimal value. And everything, for every complex element, it will be going to generate a separate .xp file. Your G files that got generated. Foreign heat. Only one element consists of set value. So in way for all the classes. Now actual class files. So client or for server, it will be going to generate a service, or it will be going to generate a dummy mission for client. Even though it was not required, your Apache CXF will be going to generate. Let's start with the one class, and we'll take a look at them. Content is nothing but your XWS. So your XWS is going to contain all the annotations for web service. These are available from a package called Java X.ws package. This package contains all the required annotations. So like the web service specifies that the interface is a service. Web service, we're going to specify it at both the service point level and in the service implementation level. But at the service implementation level, we are supposed to specify a parameter called endpoint interface. Refer to your actual SI, service endpoint interface. WSDL. One Java classes.code created. I'm sorry. SOAP type. Temperature conversion SOAP type. Let us quantify in your WSDL file. So I Your type, it will going to contain from the port type, it's going to contain about your options. So your operations going to specify in your port type. So that is going to specify as your web service, which will be going to contain the temperature conversion soap type. It will be going to contain a target namespace. So that it was retrieved from your digital file. If you go and look at the top, it's going to contain that one. See, generated only based on your WSDL file. After that, it will going to contain all methods or corresponding operations in your WSDL file, and to specify all the annotations. Like the first one is at the method. Web is nothing but your operation from the port type. Go down. Take uation, or let me call this one. Your name will be your method name, and so after that, copy it properly. Sorry. Operation, your operation name will be your method name. You can see that your method consists of a parameter called operation name, which is going to point to the same name. And your web result is nothing but the response that you want to return back to the client. So response actual type is Celsius to Fahrenheit result. If you want to verify the message, it will be going to contain the same. Your target namespace, again, it will be going to point to the same because we don't have different SSDs and we are referring to only one WSDL or one SSD file. And is nothing but the actual elements for your request object. The response wrapper, which will going to specify actual message for your response object. And so an additional attribute class name, which will going to point to your actual request object in terms of that speed. These are optional. If you didn't, that's also there won't be any issue with that. And for each and every method will be going to contain certain parameters. So web param will be going to specify, will be used to specify the parameter for your option. So this and methods currently in our we have 4 operations. So there are 4 methods corresponding to each and every operation available in the prototype class. This is the main interface that is going to use by the client. Now, discussed only about the port type part, about this particular prototype part. We need to discuss about the binding part. I'm sorry, the search part. Next, temp conversions. Here, the temperature conversions will be able to extend one interface, which is javax.xml.ws.service, which defines that is a service client. So an annotation called web service client, which will be going to inform to JAX-WS that this is a web service client, and the name is nothing but your service name and location, your actual location of the service, and that is fine. So after that, see, socket to socket communication between two systems will be use the socket communication, but your JAX-WS or your will be going to handle all the level calls, but it's your responsibility to generate a URL object first and provide that URL object to the container or website, which will be or establish the connection to the server. Created. See here you can see that this is a static block. Generally, once this block loaded, and where you are going to process the client was, this URL object will be going to created only once, because changing the URL object because server, so we're going to it's necessary for us for only one time into the memory. Created an URL object. There are get conversion soap with parameters, and here you can see that web service feature dot features. So what is this? Can any kind of a parameter is this? When yes. Yeah, Priya. So this is works. This was in our teachers class. Are you memorized now? The arguments. Yeah, I've seen the response from 3-4 people. Yeah. To get any core Java features, because certainly going to get at any point of time. If you move to any of the advanced concepts, you will definitely going to get all the core Java concepts. Okay, here they are using one particular method, which is get temperature conversion soap. So by using this temperature conversion soap, what we have mentioned, this is a service. Go to your service now. This consists of a port. What is the name of the port? Your port is temperature conversion soap. So for this particular one, they have provided a getter method. So a service object, you can call the getter method to retrieve the port. Retrieve the port. You have access to all the methods by using the port. Just now I've seen all the methods how to access by using port type. This is temperature conversions, which is your web service client, which got created, and after that you'll be going to call the get temperature service and so we to internally call super port, means it will be going to call your service get port method. So it will be going to establish the connection to your server at the specified address. This particular port. Get temp conversion soap type IMPL. This is an implementation for your soap type, which consists of a dummy implementation for all your methods. So don't bother about this because we are not going to call these methods. our actual client code. This is code. You get a temperature conversion soap type underscore temperature conversion soap underscore client. See, every time your queue name specifies the namespace or external namespace, and your WSDL is or your XWS is very strict at the queue name. If you specify dashes or elements properly, it won't call the web service. Here, standalone client, you can see that I'm using the main method. Come here, see that I'm creating an object for temperature conversions. Temp is nothing but your service. I'm creating object for your service. And so that I'm calling the get temperature conversion soap, which means it will be able to retrieve a port for me. See, for our understanding, they have used the object name as port. Go to your SDL. Using temperature dot get temperature conversion soap, which will retrieve a port object. So you're going to read one object and will be retrieve a port. But normally do is it will be contact the server and establish the connection at that time, and will be handle. You can think like it will be going to handle an object for you. Once port object from the port. From your port, you have access to all the methods like Celsius to Fahrenheit or wind chill in Celsius or the force kind of stuff, any kind of methods. Just you will be able to access the methods of an object. In the say here also, you will be able to access those methods. Where is my client? Go to the port. So if you say port dot, you will see all the methods that are available with respect to your port. So it consists of all the operations. Go to your SDL. See, what we have done from the service, we are going to the port, and from the port, we are going all these methods that we are doing. Now, method, like execute the method with respect to processing value. So currently, this one is converting from Celsius to Fahrenheit. So just it as 0 as of now, and I don't want to work remaining methods. Just stuff. I'm ready to work on converting Fahrenheit, and I'm passing 0. Underscore are available. If you can just change the names for your convenience. Or it will be going to call Celsius and heat, and we're going to pass the value. It was decimal format, and it will be going to respond back with some value, and I'm just printing that value. I mentioned about WSDL location, which is our URL. So we are not at all talking to our local server. We are talking to some location which is webservices.thosting.com. This particular we are talking now. To internet, so I can easily send a request over the internet to the service provider. I can contact the service and can get the response. So this program now. Not that much time. My system is very slow. To foreign heat, and that it has sent the request to that, and it was able to read the response as 32. 0 it is 32, that is correct. Value and enter some number 20, probably 64 kind of stuff. So service provider is up and running, and we are able to communicate to the service provider over the web, and we will retrieve the result. To understand now at least of the elements that are all, and purpose of all those elements, and how those elements are related to WSDL file. Is there? Sort of. Okay. Ask that question once after the class, Sandeep. No, I just explained only for your purpose. This how to handle the fault related stuff. So that's for this. That's my setup. Deploys. We have created a web service using dynamic web project, so that means I can just copy the related files like webinf and metainf to Tomcat location, and I the file. I can application. I'm sorry.
Okay, my question was, are we going to do something different with with respect to web service when compared to a regular web application in terms of deployment?
No, you can directly deploy it as a normal application, normal web application to the server. If you deploy it in using sorry, I distracted with some other question. To deploy using enterprise server, so you have the option of writing the AND script, and your script consists of the tools like WSDL to Java, whatever that we have discussed with respect to Apache CXF. You have to provide such information like what name WSDL to Java that you want to perform, and give off the WSDL file, and provision for source files, location for dependent class files. So all will be going to provide with the AND command, and it will be going to generate the request for your Java or JAXP classes, and you'll be going to wrap it up using a WAR file, and we'll be going to deploy into the server.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you're welcome. The AND command will be going to discuss during this weekend or next week, but after that we'll see the file AND script. Lakshmi has asking another question here. Where are we using marshalling and unmarshalling like we used in JAXP? It's required for us to do. The process will be taken care of our JAXWS. Is the JAXP classes available, and the marshalling or unmarshalling, everything will be going to do internal by your JAXWS, and it will be going to wrap up the SOAP layer and then communicates with the server. Project level CF2.x. Sriya explained the marshalling and unmarshalling is just for our understanding purpose, how the object is converted to an XML. Did we? service endpoint interface. Relation. So third, click on next. The client only, no going for server. So what done is instead of placing it as an integer, we convert that into string values now. But can be accepted by using strings. So what happens if we pass the string values now? The sub code, it got deployed onto the Tom. Go and verify the WSDL that got generated. So the DL that got generated by our Apache CXF, and this is the endpoint location. Go on in Explorer whether it was opening the WSDL or not. It was, so the option was deployed properly onto the server. SDL instead of now it consists of string values. This change. Now in code, it was there in a separate project. One way it consists of some classes related to factory and our four classes. Good. Verification was pointing correctly or not. Yes, correctly. Come back. Use. So current entering 10. Just request whether we are able to receive the pause or not. Java. In that, result equal to 45. So means our service is working fine. Now just putting the Tomcat server here because we'll be going to apply to my client. I will Apache consist of string operations. Fine. Go to our client and server, both are available at the same location. So if we make use of the same, that the logs will get overridden. will be going to trigger here, and we can see the server processing in our secure it now. This SOAP coordinated. Yesterday we have seen this. Or in 35, finally it will be going to respond with return 45. Now I'll change this to some string. So an exception at the server level itself, because our ops calculation here we are doing, we are converting it into an integer. So while converting, the percent method will be going to throw a number format exception. Go on. Go to this. No, it's not processing the requests. Let the Eclipse. We'll take a look at that. See now how we are receiving the response. Yes, go ahead.
Krish, actually, I'm sorry, I'm not able to really catch everything. But can you just at a high level give me, state the bullet points when you need to create a web service? So really what I understood is you created a same simple Java class and then use the Apache CXF utility to create to convert that thing into a web service. And after, what are the things that we check, to run the thing? Could you state that as just a high level point? So you went through all the files, try to, catch, view, but not really able to catch everything. Can you just at a high level, what are the things that we need to do? We need to look for after those classes are generated to run that.
Yes, you can just go through the yesterday's class session.
Okay.
You're definitely able to apply. What do you can create one web service application. Just write all class in your Eclipse under the Apache CXF.
Okay.
But just for the session, you'll definitely able to understand all class files created.
Just 5 bullet points that I need to do, but
correct. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. And today's class also I explained this whatever that we have discussed discussed yesterday, I just elaborated them and explained it again one more time. So did you miss any of the points, or you're not able to understand any of the stuff that I have explained?
I think going between the files, it's just way too fast for me. I'm not able to really just
Okay.
by the time I catch one thing and really sinks in, it's really fast. We move on to the next thing. Okay, I can go back and listen to the recording and then try to get that. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah, because what I want to show is, I just want to show the interaction between the WSDL and the Java conversion. And looking at the WSDL file, I guess the code will be easy to understand.
Okay.
If you understand the WSDL file, then by this WSDL interaction, it's very much easy to understand how our Java code communicates between these elements.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. If you are not able to, then let me know. Okay. Yeah, you did it now. It is not able to process the request. Error messages also. Tomcat server. Why taking the request? Not able to open the WSDL file. Let me server. Oh. Something got piled up. Server code. Add, take 2 parameters, add all to system.out.println some value, return string.value of some. Just the basic method. Exception. Actually, it was not required for us to throw an exception. So should handle the exception that got generated and it was supposed to return back to the client with a SOAP. Error message. So what are we doing here? We are sending the argument 0 and argument 1 and 2 numbers, but we are sending it as a string and the second one as a number. In add here reached to the server. Go on at the top level. Then you see that argument 0 as string and argument 1 as 35. And here it was displayed the message add operation call. This is as well. And it has an exception. The input string str number format exception has occurred. We don't have any handling for the exception. So means what it will do is whenever a method was not capable of handling the exception, the action will be thrown. The action will be going to throw back to the caller method. The method for this is our CXF. So our CXF will be going to read that particular error message, and it will be going to create a SOAP fault exception message. Let us copy. Don't create an XML file. The SOAP XML that got generated by your container. Well, envelope it will be going to contain, and inside body it can contain your actions, but this time there is no proper response and it has generated an error message. You can see that it has created a SOAP fault, and the fault code is SOAP server. So that means server exception has occurred. Sometimes place it as SOAP client, which means client exception has occurred. Well, if a message or the service provider was not capable of handling the exception will be going to handle by your SOAP itself, and will be going to create a SOAP fault message and will be respond back to the client. First, even our client also not handling the exception. So he was handling the exception, and the exception was thrown back to our main method. So there is exception occurred with respect to the service provider. It will going to create an object called x.xml.ws. fault exception. Here calls to the operations to handle this particular exception whenever any error message occurred, and you were supposed to catch those exceptions and retrieve the actual information about the error. Okay. So the method that will be going to throw the exception. So I'm just in a try catch block. So in block, you can see that here you can see what is the error message that got raised: javax.xml.w.soap.soap exception to thread. Not assigned. Oops. So exception object that from your fault message you can view the fault code and fault string. So for soap fault exception block, you can just retrieve get fault, which means the top element, get fault, storage object, so after that, what are two things? Fault, get fault code, and get fault string. So now from our client side, instead of throwing it back to the main method, we are able to retrieve the SOAP error message, and we are able to retrieve what is the error code and what is the error message. Based on these two informations, we can fix the error that will be going to generated by our service provider. So our client one more time. Has generated a SOAP fault. And the fault code has received as SOAP :server or print the E print stack trace. Now in our exception handle block, fault is SOAP :server and faulting is for input string str. So exception has occurred for input string str by our SOAP handler. This will be going to handle by using SOAP fault class fault exception. If you want to handle the exception at the server level itself, you can handle. You can just put in a try catch block. Once after handling the exception, for handling the exception manually, but we want to throw, we want the fault page the user. So fault object, so exception object, create SOAP fault separately. SOAP fault is a interface, so you don't have any access of creating the objects using an interface. It would be created by using your factory class. Your factory is just like your session factory kind of stuff. You'll be going to ask your factory create an instance, and all the create methods, either you can create an element name or you can create your fault object. You go for getting the fault object, you can just add the error messages or the error code, fault set, fault code. It has 500 errors because of our exception. And set fault string name format exception occurred for what get closed message. This is our actual exception message. So respond back to the client with a SOAP fault. Exception type SOAP exception. This is also throwing one more exception. Once handled at the server level, just server one more time, because Tomcat server contains old code. Go and execute our client. See that the old code that was run as SOAP:SE500, which was set in our server side, and of number format exception occurred a localized message for our parameter that it was specified as number format exception will be going to associate with our actual error message and will be going to respond it back to the user. So by error message, the client is going to understand that there is an issue with input parameter. Side, on the supposed to create a exception. So fault is SOAP fault is an interface, and we don't have any class or objects that are related to the SOAP. So we are asking the factory to provide fault on fault object You set the fault code and fault string, but finally we are supposed to respond with SOAP exception only. So the exception accepts a parameter SOAP fault. We'll be going to set that one and respond back to the client. Right? On the client, you will be going to receive anyway the SOAP fault exception. Here you are throwing this from the server side. The server throwing SOAP fault exception. You are going to receive the SOAP fault exception, and will be going to contain the fault message. We're going to contain those two strings, the code and the fault value. This is errors will be going to handle by using envelope. With respect to this. Yeah. Current STR and 35.
Yeah, trying to observe, look at the way you call the web service. So you instantiated the service using that WSDL UI and the service name.
Yeah.
And
instead of going through this particular Java code, it will load if you can understand the WSDL first. So to WSDL.
okay.
Class, if you remember yesterday, we have mentioned that service is just like our Java class. You're going to start from the Java class level, and this is your service. It has internal element which is port. So representation, it's just like a method inside your service. Service, you'll be going to ask the port, hey, get me one port. So at the time, what port will do is it will make a communication to the server by using this particular URL, and you're going to associate a connection to the server, and it will be going to provide you a connection information. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So one established the communication to the port. So the port has the communication with, your port was related to or access to the binding element. Or binding element. Binding element is nothing but which will contain or operations.
Okay. And
so once this one is to this one, and it was related to binding, and your binding was related to go to the port type. You was related to this particular port type.
Port type, what exactly is that? Is that like the type of the object or type of the server?
No, your port contains all the operations.
Yeah. I thought we saw the operations inside that literal and all that thing, right? Inside SOAP binding.
This one, yeah. It won't specify about the details of operation. It will just specify name of the operation. The binding purpose is to specify about the transport details. All that you are using, either protocol or HTTP, SMT, or those kind of stuff. It will be going to contain. We are going to contain the operation details as well, but that doesn't serve any purpose because it just contains only the names of the operations. So what we'll do is each and everything will be separated. Go to our image file. Every element has definite purpose. The purpose is only for transport protocol, and it will be going to refer to your port type element of different elements, like what is the operation. Like it consists of the name of the operation, right?
Right.
Actual reference in our Java level, it will going to take a look at the port type, by list type, the operation service. It will go to ops calculation service, and to see the add operation will be able to contain an input and the output. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Basically, then this WSDL operation, this name in the section that you are in right now, it is something like saying these are the methods kind of that are available in the web service. But the whole thing is actually the actual definition for that method. What are the input parameters and everything? And
here it will be going to specify that your operation consists of an input and output, but it doesn't specify what is the data type or what is the actual message that it is referring. But if you take a look at here, specify the operation name, input name, same as that here, but it will be going to specify what exactly that this input will be going to contain.
What is that message TNS add again is? What is that?
Is your package. If you think like your operation,
okay.
Add is your operation, and message is nothing but your input parameters. This response, it will be going to point to the message, which is the output, which your return will be going to contain a input and a output. So your return in Java and output is nothing but your return value.
Void. Oh, but the web service calls have to return something. Yes. Okay, it makes sense.
No, you can have one. We'll be going to discuss that one.
Okay. Okay.
Now go to messages TNS add.
Okay.
Add. So of the parameters, the add message consists of the parameters which we are going to refer element as TNS:add. Go to your add. :add, if you take a look at the complex type, it consists of two arguments, argument 0 and argument 1, which are nothing but your input parameters.
Okay.
You need to sit and add every element, then it will be easy for you to do one by one.
So this is schema file then? Or
yeah, your WSDL is also nothing but a XML file, right?
Right. This is okay. And it is
a document. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So will all these TNS things, elements, be defined in that XSD then?
Currently, we have specified it as to define a separate XSD. You have the option of specifying them inside types element directly instead of you specifying it as a separate XSD. All these elements, whatever that you have specified as a separate XSD element, you can copy them and put inside the types. You will specify all data types.
Okay.
You have option like either you can specify it here, or if you think like this is a clumsy, if you are specifying all the elements here, then you can go for a separate XSD file and you declare the elements there.
Okay. I'm trying to get this hierarchy in mind.
No.
It's taking time, but to
yeah, no. Yeah, that's what you do is what you can do is you can just practice at least one example, then small file, convert into a web service and take a look at the WSDL file and then you look at the class files, the 4 important class files that got generated for the client, and be able to understand easily.
Okay.
Unless you create on your own, then it will be like you'll be able to understand, but you will definitely forget it by tomorrow.
So do we need to actually create the XSD file also, or does it get generated automatically?
See, currently I have created automatically.
Okay.
While creating the web service. Let me show it to you. Web service, create service, click next. That generate XST for the types.
Okay.
Specify this one, it will be going to create a separate XST file.
Okay.
If you want to specify the checkbox, then it will going to append or embed all those files in the same WSDL file.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. The Java files that got generated, say not all required for you to go what kind of classes that we're using, and the port and type are got generated, and how application is going on. Even though if you go for a real world project, they won't ask you to write from the scratch. So it is only for your understanding purpose.
Yeah. Another question is, when you go back there, are you working with 2 separate projects to go back into your Eclipse? The steps are created in one separate project, and
yeah, we need to think in right. The first thing is you are developing a service and onto the Tomcat server, and we are the clients. We are the only ones triggering to our service, which was available at our local host. That's why I have created a second project, which is our client project.
We have that ops calculation strings client in the first web service project. Then.
Okay.
Yeah, open that. I don't know if it is strings operations or it is just operations. Yeah.
Operation.
Yeah. Calculation service client, right?
I have placed only for our purpose. It's required for us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this strictly has only the web service code. This project, this string operations.
Yeah. It's not required for you to have this one. You can just delete it.
Okay.
Yeah. In a server way, like let us say you have developed this particular service, you want to test your service, right? Before publishing to the clients. So it means you'll be going to write a client application as well.
Correct.
That's the reason your CXF has provided that class.
Okay. So here we don't even need the ops calculation.java too, right? Because you need only the ops calculation service. Correct.
Service is your business interface, SCI. You need to provide a definition for the method, right?
Okay. The other one is the
correct. Okay. You want to expose your service over web by using interface, which is a standard.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. What you do is you just practice one web service, then you'll definitely able to understand all the elements.
Okay. Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, there are the doubts. A tool which can be used to generate the SOAP requests and source request to our server. I have ordered one which is SoapUI tool. UI tool. The site So we have the option of 14 days trial version. Just download that one and try for 14 days. Download the trial. Just add that one. Play some folder. So once you have downloaded the zip file and extract it to some folder, which consists of a bin, and then there is a .bat file available, Windows .bat, exe file. Open that, it will be going to open a GUI window. SoapUI tool, it's required for us to write a client code and test the server. So every time when you make some changes to your server side code, it's hard for you to write a client and try it each and every time. You can just make use of some kind of open source tools, and you can import WSDL file. The fundamental requirement for any kind of clients, for any, he just needs only WSDL file. Even your SoapUI tool also needs the so open tool, just create a new project, and your project, it will going to ask you some names and going to ask you some input. Here is that initial WSDL. So goes the WSDL for string functions. Java, Eclipse, it was not there. Strings, content, WSDL. Okay. Imported, it will need to create one project. So the top level is project. There is one other project iConfig Pro Service for that one. And once after that, it will be going to create one project, and yet with the SOAP binding, it has created an operation add. So you can open that one. Just a second. Yeah. So our project, in my project, you can see that there are 4 tabs overview, which is of your WSDL location, some test summary kind of stuff. See, the SoapUI is used for testing kind of stuff. So you can go for load test, you can go for normal test cases, you can write a test case and you verify whether you want to perform the load kind of stuff. Let's say you want to handle 100 at the same time or 10 threads at the same time. So before to the client, you just verify from your side whether your server is capable of handling 10 threads at a time or not, or our Java was able to allocate that much memory or not. So that is important during our testing phase. There are security kind of stuff, information available. Next, go to level. Project, it will be going to contain the hierarchy in the same way. Also, you can see that it's the same way. And will be going to contain your binding, will be going to specify the details about your service endpoint. If you want service endpoint also, but currently this is fine. See the point, how it was able to retrieve. It has seen the service element. The WSDL, it will be going to read the address location tab, address location attribute, and it will be going to populate at this level. if you want to change, you can make a changes to here. Your method name. Post. The SoapUI tool has your operation, and it is that there which referring to message TNS add, and TNS add is referring to TNS add element consists of two arguments, which is argument 0 and argument 1. So we're going to create. Stay familiar with the SOAP envelope. The top level is SOAP envelope. If it name will be to contain a header, optional header, then it will be going to contain a body, and inside it will be going to contain the request message. This is how normally your client will be going to communicate to the server. When we are using the Java clients, we'll be going to see only the null elements, element 0 or argument 1, but after the request prepared, your SOAP will going to wrap up the request message and will be going to submit to the server. It has read your SoapUI tool has seen that complex element add consists of these two elements. It will add you those two operations also. You can see these two are optional elements. Two elements. Argument 10 or 120. Here is the execute button. Once you have executed this button, it will be used this particular URL which was specified at the top layer. If you use the current you have submitted, the response will be going to display here. Alright, you can see that there are several log files available. SoapUI log, log, jetty log, error log, WM, memory log. Log, it will be going to provide you what are stuff that you are doing. You see that each and everything, importing endpoint, importing operation, add, importer. So it to show all the whatever that you have done, it will be going to log that particular message. So here this log message, can anybody what kind of messaging it is following?
Log?
Yeah, exactly, correct. Here, correct. You can see that config log4j. It will be to use the log4j technology, and on the left side here you can see that it is printing the date and the log level, and that the log message. So tool internally uses log4j mechanism. HTTP log. HTTP log will be going to contain. Let me execute once. Got that? Everything is fine. Your HTTP log will be going to contain. Here you are communicating with respect to available on the web. So that to use XML over HTTP communication, use SOAP protocol. So HTTP communication, it was supposed to specify some kind of headers. It is using the post operation, and the URL is string option / services / ops calculation port and HTTP 1.1 version. Sorry, the text is XML, content is 334, and the host localhost :8080. Send. Response as 200 OK, which is nothing but the success response from the server. It has received the message. This is the response content. Your log, go to your SoapUI log. It consists of some information related to your request, sending request, receive response, can be kept alive indefinitely, got connection closed. So that the connection, it has opened a connection to the IP address, whatever that you have provided, and finally it has closed the connection. Rest, it will be specified here. Your memory consumption also, how much memory it is consuming every request. Change the request and pass some string. Go to your log. Here, that's going to communicate for the request, but see that the response has received as 500 internal server error. H 1.1 500 internal server error. Errors are nothing but for errors. And the response, whatever we have constructed from our server or we followed by 500 and number format exception has occurred. Kind of tools are useful when you want to test, when you want service without the Java code. So going to Java level, writing each and every time when you have made some changes to your code, when we test or when we want to do the test kind of stuff. So UI or JMeter, there is one other tool which is JMeter. You can just go for the one as well and find tools for testing. Mostly that's the whole purpose. SoapUI tool you can use for testing kind of stuff, or the security kind of stuff for testing purpose. You see that the connection shut down. Previous connection got closed. Why the connection got shut down here? Because the server has specified that it's not able to process, and this is an error with respect to the server. Log. Now create to suit. Instead of sending only one request, we'll get a suit. Just some defaults. Add test. Just our current request only. Select operation to invoke, which means it is selecting the existing request. Content. So is I just want to perform the request or response was success or not. And with the test case, we have requested or only normal request, and when you use test case and adding the test step, it will be going to verify, and once executing, it will be going to show in color or green color whether the product failure. In the left side, green color. So test, it's going to provide you some options. Like when we are performing the load test means we want to verify like number of threads you want to hit per second. That to specify here strategy, whether you want to go for or normal strategy. Like thread strategy means it will be going to use how many number of threads you want to start and how number of threads you want to increase. Or if you go for normal strategy, then you can see what are the number of transactions that we're going to hit per second, which is nothing but your TPS, and how many number of bytes will be going to transfer to the server, and request will be triggered within a second, the minimum and maximum, and at an average. See that. So it is 3.7. That means it is requesting requests at a time or per second. Number of bytes it is hitting. Normally it is useful for general purpose. So your manager or your lead will be going to ask you how much load that your service will be going to handle within a second. How much load it can handle within a time period. So kind of information that will be used by for sources. Your JVM is handling so the number of bytes got increased. Your JVM is getting full here. You can see that it is going up and down. You want it 50 requests for 1 second, 2 seconds. So with the corrugated memory, it's not at all possible to hit 50 requests. So what they'll take a look at the statistics, and they'll be going to increase the memory size, or they'll be going to allocate the hardware resources. What test will be going to use. See, the end of stuff, just like your unit testing, because once you have developed the service, you need to provide the results to your manager or lead, specifying that your test was successful and are able to verify service. Only it will be going to send to the normal testing phase. You either can do, or normally the load test will be going to performed by your QA leads or QA team. The UI tool, once after writing a small service, make use of that and take the WSDL file here, place it here, then create a normal request first, and after a test case, you need to right click and see the options that are available. New case, close case, launch test runner, and once after that, create a load test, associate some request to the load test, and start the load test and verify how much memory that it will be going to use. So all the request handling, or sometimes the proper, not proper. Another actual WSDL file from my telecom project. Lot of it will be going to contain. It won't be a single element. Here that at that will be going to contain APIs, and one of that will contain the byte information with the AFIC pro operation, original complete. These are 3 operations. And U operation consists of an input message, provo operation, and provo operation response. and operation is referring to iConfig request, and all these above elements are related to your request. Elements are related to your request. Let me generate a small XML request XML. So all required inputs that are required first, once and if any of these elements you write on the side, you will be write the code in such a way that if there is any required element which was available in the request XML, you will be able to throw a so fault exception to the client. So they will be going to write validation for each and every element, each and every element. Order number, order type, supplement type, and you see that the date info consider attributes, the ID, number of ports, dates change, and again consists of different elements: vendor, make, model, type, config user. Date info, it consists of one more complex element, port info, and one element TN info, which consists of several elements. Service param, which consists of again several elements. So that's how the ML will be, the WSDL will be going to specify, and the actual communication between client and server will be going to happen. DNS is just like a namespace. Class, you guys have any questions? Thanks of time. I'll be going to show you one more example. Can continue or not. Dull one. Okay.
Just one quick thing. This is Sushil.
Yeah.
So if I looked at the primitive data types here, right, in the inputs and output, but you are passing the right, such as employee or whatnot, they will, the work is the same, correct? Or is it a change?
But your data types, see, currently I have shown one example with respect to iConfig Pro operation.
Yeah,
here in this one, it consists of elements. Exactly. These are complex elements.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, for today's class, you guys have any questions? You can ask me, or else we'll sit TJB tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes. Go ahead.
Can we download?
I think it's possible for download from now onwards because it will be going to store on the server only. It's not possible for me to store at my local disk level.
Here, time or?
Yeah, it will be available at least for 30 days. Yep. And after that also, if you can ask if the file was not available, you can just send an email to the coordinators and they'll be going to upload that for you.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Is there that you could get that file and just upload it to the same place that you've been doing, because it's been working out. And it's only in the last couple of weeks of the class now, we are changing this thing.
Yeah, because see, actually, this is how I have asked those guys from the first onwards.
Right.
Because we are not supposed to export the recorded file to outside. We can put the access to the recorded file, but not as a local disk storage.
I understand that, I've never been honoring all the things that you've been saying not to share. Yes, that's the reason. There are some friends who were asking to, but I didn't really share anything so far. So
Yeah.
so I'm sure